Welcome to the Switch Style Podcast, where we encourage you to think beyond what you hear. I'm your host, and I go by the name of Smooth. And so, audience, welcome back to episode 54 of the Switch Style Podcast. And before we jump into anything, I'll just give you a quick rundown. I'll update the charts for you, and when I say charts, I mean the Billboard charts. I'll update those for you. I'll let you know what's coming out this Friday, April 14th, 2017. And I'll actually give you my take on Raekwon's The Wild. So let's go ahead and jump into it. But before we do anything, I do want to let you guys know you can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Type in Switch Style Podcast, and you can find us on all four of those platforms. And also, you can find the podcast and my written reviews on jacksjournal.com. So check me out at jacsjournal.com, and also follow me on Twitter at jacksjournal. So here we go. Let's go ahead and jump into it. On the Billboard 200, Drake earns a third consecutive week at number 1 as More Life earns 136,000 units. Only 16,000 of those were traditional album sales. Also, Kodak Black, he debuts at number 3 this week with Painting Pictures, earning 71,000 units. 15,000 of those were traditional album sales. And as you guys know, Kodak Black, he's the rapper out of Florida who's faced some legal trouble, but he has a big hit in Tunnel Vision. So check out Kodak Black and Drake's More Life as well. And you can also find my review of More Life at jacksjournal.com. And you can also check the archive shows of the podcast and find the actual audio review there also. And on the Hot 100, Ed Sheeran remains in the penthouse for an 11th week with Shape of You. And at number 2, Kendrick Lamar debuts with Humble, which is also the lead single from his album that will be out this Friday, April 14th. I'm really excited about that one. And coming up in What's New, I'll actually tell you guys a little bit more about that coming up, so stay tuned. And to note, Humble is also Kendrick Lamar's 4th top 10 hit and first as a lead artist. Humble also gives K-Dot his first number 1 on Billboard's Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart. So congrats to Kendrick. Yeah, he's adding to an already impressive resume. But last but not least on the Hot 100, Sam Hunt's Body Like a Back Road shoots from number 12 to number 6, giving the country star his first Hot 100 top 10. And Body Like a Back Road also leads the Hot Country Songs chart for a 9th week. So congratulations to Sam Hunt. And if you missed it, he actually serenaded his fiance on the ACM Awards, the American Country Music Awards, maybe a week or two ago. So which actually resulted in the bump in sales. But it was already number 1 on the Hot Country Songs chart. So congrats to Sam Hunt, Kendrick Lamar, Ed Sheeran, Drake, and Kodak Black. They all made big splashes on the chart this week. So we'll actually move on to what's new. But again, before we do that, I just want to remind you guys, you can go find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And wherever you listen, please leave me a review. Let me know how I'm doing. If it's good, let me know. If it's bad, let me know. I just need any kind of feedback. Any kind of feedback would be appreciated. So definitely do that for me. Like I said, it would be greatly appreciated. So let's actually go ahead and jump into what's new. So this Friday, April 14th, 2017, look out for new albums from, I mentioned it earlier, Grammy-winning superstar Kendrick Lamar. He's back with his latest album titled Damn. And you heard me right. I said damn, D-A-M-N. And 7-time Grammy winner John Mayer, he returns with The Search for Everything. If you keep up with the podcast, we let you know earlier this year, he actually released 2 EPs, and 8 of those songs were on those separate EPs. Those 8 new songs are actually going to be a part of the complete album, which will include an additional 4 songs. So look out for that. And last but not least, look out for soundtracks for The Fate of the Furious and The Get Down Part 2. The Fate of the Furious movie, it'll actually be in theaters this Friday. And if you're not familiar with The Fate of the Furious, it's the movie series starring Vin Diesel, the departed Paul Walker. He won't be in this one, but Tyrese, Ludacris, among many others. So check that out. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm a big fan myself of the Fast and Furious franchise series, and just looking back at it, I never thought that they would get to where they are now, because I think this is actually the 8th movie. So that's impressive for them to get so far. It says a lot. So look out for that. And the Get Down, I mentioned the Get Down Part 2. If you don't know the Get Down, it's actually a series that's based around the origins of hip-hop. It's set in the late 1970s, and it explores hip-hop from its inception, starting, with the mixture of disco and punk rock. It explores a lot and features some great acting, and the series is only available on Netflix for streaming, and I actually watched it this past Friday. There's about 5 new episodes, and I really enjoyed it, and it actually came to a conclusion. So check out the Get Down Part 2, and the soundtrack for it will actually be in stores this Friday. So look out for that. But again, I'll recap what's new. So look out for new albums from Kendrick Lamar, who's back with The Damn. John Mayer, he's back with The Search for Everything. And new soundtracks from The Fate of the Furious and the Get Down Part 2. So check those out this Friday, April 14th, 2017. So I'll actually go ahead and give you guys my take on Raekwon's The Wild. And if you're not familiar with Raekwon, I'll give you a quick bio just to bring you up to speed and let you know a little bit about him before we start. So here we go. Raekwon, his real name is Corey Woods, and he was born January 12th, 1970 in New York. He's 47 years old. So he's a part of what I like to call rap's adult division, the older division, which also includes people, you can throw Eminem in there, Jay-Z now, and Tribe Called Quest, The Lox, and among many others. But back to Raekwon. He also goes by the nickname The Chef because he's cooking up something marvelous to get your mouth watering. Raekwon joined the Wu-Tang Clan in the early 1990s, and they released their classic debut, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, in 1993. In 1995, Raekwon released his own hip-hop classic, Only Built for Cuban Links. And The Chef, he followed Cuban Links with an additional 6 albums and a handful of other projects. So Raekwon, he's been in the game for nearly 25 years. In audience, if you've never heard Raekwon, but chances are if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know who Raekwon is. But if you haven't heard about Raekwon, go back and listen to 1995's Only Built for Cuban Links. It's a certified hip-hop classic, so go check that out. And if you're not familiar with the Wu-Tang Clan, you probably know RZA, Method Man, Ghostface Killer, Old Dirty Bastard, among many others. There were actually 9 of them. So I'll actually go ahead and give you guys my take on Raekwon's latest album, which is titled The Wild. Close your eyes and visualize a world of polluted skies, decaying buildings, mutated wildlife, and Earth nearing the brink of destruction. Desolate, war-torn lands are all that is seen for miles. It sounds horrible, right? Well, it just proves how far Raekwon is willing to go to get you to see things his way. The bothersome picture described is the cover art of Raekwon's 7th studio album, The Wild. Since the release of his 1995 landmark debut, Only Built for Cuban Links, the chef has witnessed many peers come and go, but more importantly, a slowly disintegrating world around him. The Wild explores that crumbling landscape in search of something more familiar. This is what it comes to as a nostalgic trip to New York's golden age. It is reminiscent of a time when boom bap hits were as hard as the concrete jungle that inspired them. A stunningly detailed tribute to Marvin Gaye is by far the Wild's most memorable number. The song, which is named after its muse's given name, closely resembles Gaye's socially symphonic What's Going On. Raekwon narrates Gaye's life from birth to the ill-fated night when he was murdered by his father. Marvin is a brilliant craft work and leaves one wondering what if What's Going On had a rap feature. Can't You See is a touching account of the chef's past and present. Ray taps Pierre, who is signed to his Ice Water record label on the lyrical gem M&N. It's a passionate exploration of the M and N sections of a dictionary. Andre Day assists on the heartfelt visiting hour. It is the Wild's most focused moment, exploring hard-learned life lessons and a more fruitful, bigger picture. The Rain and Crown of Thorns are both majestic celebrations and retrospective takes on the chef's excellence and how to sustain it. Purple Brick Road features G-Eazy and is Raekwon's final victory lap. Its melancholy strings and dramatic soundscape feel surprisingly anticlimactic. Yet, it's an appropriate way to convey the strain and pain that comes along with the fame and fortune. G-Eazy even acknowledges the chef's labor and timeless contribution, rapping, 20 years later, and we still slapping that purple tape shit, referring to Only Built for Cuban Link's unique purple cassette tape. As a whole, The Wild borrows from a time when hip-hop captured the heart of many, including Raekwon himself. It also properly introduces the chef to a newer generation who might be sadly unfamiliar with his work. And audience, do this again for me. Close your eyes again and imagine a world of polluted skies, decayed buildings, and mutated figures. If you listen closely, you'll hear a gargantuan figure emerging from the sky with an arm on his chest to save the world. That figure is none other than Raekwon's, who will begin to save those in the midst of the wild. It's an ambitious dream, but it sure is a much welcome trip down memory lane. So there you go, audience. That's actually my review of Raekwon's The Wild. There's a lot of solid tracks, and those solid tracks include This Is What It Comes To, Marvin, which is an awesome tribute to Marvin Gaye. The tribute is so good, in my opinion, you would think that Raekwon actually knew Marvin Gaye himself. Can't You See is another good one. M&N, which features Pierre, who's the artist signed to Raekwon's Ice Water label. It's a great exploration, like I said, of the M&N section of a dictionary. Like throughout the entire song, they probably use, I don't actually have a count of it myself, but they use so many different M and N words, and it's something that you guys should hear. In Visiting Hour, it's another good one with Andre Day. Check out those four specifically, but Raekwon put out a very solid album. For those of you who love New York rap, for all you traditionalists out there, this is definitely the album for you. If you love Raekwon, you'll definitely love this album. But I think it's a solid album. You know, at times I felt like the album could have been rated as a 4-star album, and at other times I felt as if it could have been rated as a 3-star album, but I kind of met in the middle with 3.5 stars. But it's definitely an album that you guys should check out, and I think it continues what has been so far a pretty good year for hip-hop. I'm kind of interested to see what Kendrick is going to do this Friday, but if you haven't heard Fat Joe and Remy Ma's Plata o Ploma, check that out. You can actually read my written review and check out the podcast of that one. Check out Big Sean's I Decided. That's another good one. You can also check out Joey Badass. He just put out his album, All American Badass. Kendrick is coming out. Drake put out a really good one. And there's somebody else I'm missing, but there's a lot of good hip-hop that's come out this year, and I think you guys should definitely check it out. You had Nick Grant, and there's a few other people that I'm actually missing out on. But go out and definitely check out Raekwon's album. I think it's something that everyone should hear. But that's actually it for me. But again, before I go, you can find this podcast and all of the archived podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Just go to Google and type in Switch Style Podcast, and we'll pop up. And whenever you do go to iTunes or Google Play Music or SoundCloud or YouTube, write a review. Let me know how I'm doing. If I'm horrible, let me know. If I'm great, let me know. I just need some great feedback, or good feedback, helpful feedback, constructive criticism. So help me out in that way. And also check out the new jacksjournal.com. That's JACSjournal.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think. You can find the podcast there, the Switch Style Podcast, and you can also find my written reviews. So check that out. And also, again, follow me at Jack's Journal on Twitter. But again, this has been episode 54 of the Switch Style Podcast, and I sincerely thank all of you who've made it this far. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to the show, and it definitely is appreciated. So don't think that you listening goes unnoticed. So thank you again, everybody, and I'll see you next time on episode 55. Peace.